this was all circulating around the base, that a giant had been killed, but no one was supposed to talk about it.
I saw 3 long, bony fingers reach up underneath the door, curl up to grab it, and then disappear.
When he came over to me, dude, he slithered over to me.
And this giant comes out of the cave, and they're all frozen. And he starts running and firing at this giant. Well, the giant moves. He's got a spear in one hand, and he's running really fast and spears Dan and holds him up like this. Somebody yells, shoot him in the face, shoot him in the face. They basically decapitate him.
Got closer. When he got about 15 yards away from me, I raised that 12 gauge and I blowed his head off.
I feel something pulling at my leg, and I look over and there are 2 small gray entities pulling at me. And they're literally, I'm getting pulled off the bed.
I reached my hand into this bush and I touched air. Couldn't breathe and I couldn't move because I know I'm seeing a monster.
Yep. Welcome to the show, everybody. You're listening to The Confessionals. I am your host, Tony Merkel. Thank you for being here. If you've had an encounter or a story you'd like to share with me on the show, go ahead and shoot me an email. My email address is theconfessionals@theconfessionalspodcast.com. That's theconfessionals@theconfessionalspodcast.com. Or go to the website, theconfessionalspodcast.com, hit the contact section, and you can reach me that way as well. Either way works for me. Just get a hold of me. And if you want more shows every week, every Thursday, we release a bonus episode to members only on the website. So if you want more of The Confessionals on a weekly basis, go to theconfessionalspodcast.com and hit the join button today. Now, today we got a great show coming up for you. We actually have Josh coming on the show, and we cover the whole thing this week. We talk about flat Earth, we talk about hollow Earth, we talk about traversing parallel universes, and what is Sasquatch. We talk about it all on this episode, so let's get to it right now. All right, today we have a great guest coming on. We have Josh. Josh, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing fine. So you have some interesting topics to talk about. So we're going to be covering a lot of different things today. And, I think we're going to start off with the initial email you had sent me with the information in there, but we're going to jump around today on different topics of the deep state theories that you have, the Mandela effect, just to hit on some of the things, hollow Earth, hollow moon. So we're going to kind of go around a little bit around the universe today with you. But I want to start off with the email you sent me because it kind of perked my ears up just because it's different. And you had said, I believe I've pinpointed the moment I traversed a parallel universe stemming from a game of Mario Kart. And that, my friend, makes me say, what? So go ahead and take it away.
All right. Awesome. First of all, thank you very much for having me on the show. This is awesome to, reach so many ears out in the world, all over the world. Like you said at the beginning of the call. First of all, if you don't mind, I'd like to send a couple shout outs over the airwaves. First of all, to my wife, Alicia, you are amazing and, the greatest thing that's ever happened to me in my life. I wouldn't be here today without her, and I love you, baby. Secondly, just a quick shout out to my boys at work, Jer Bear, Chadwick P. Chatterson, Scotty Too Hottie, Barry, and 1T. This show's for you guys. But let's get into it. So this happened about 1997, 96, somewhere around there. I was home alone at the time, I was home with my mom at the time. I was in the living room playing Mario Kart. And it was just the weirdest thing. It was maybe, I don't know, August or September, somewhere around there. I know I wasn't really doing school at the time, but anyway, I was at home and just playing a game of Mario Kart. That was just really the only system we had at the time. I think it was like a Super Nintendo. But as I'm playing, I'm just doing like the time trials, and it was a neat feature that I remember where you could view the replay of your race. So as I'm playing, I'm just farting around, and my mom had called me for something. So I went there and helped her out, and then as I come back, I sit down and I start just replaying the last race that I just had. So it was really weird. Like at the time I was feeling all right. I had just eaten, and all of a sudden I get really lightheaded, and I get just a wave of nausea, wave of dizziness, and I remember vaguely blacking out, or just kind of losing consciousness for a quick second. I wake back up, and the replay is going all haywire. Like it's not what I remember doing in the game, and it's actually really almost disturbing to me, because I felt real off. And yeah, as I'm playing as I'm watching the replay, it really struck me as weird. Like, whoa, I did not do this. You know what I mean? I specifically remember playing the track as normal with, no problem whatsoever. And when I come back to it, it's something completely different. It was like playing for like 10 minutes or so, or whatever the time trial was. And it was just really odd. And I remember thinking, whoa, this is really messed up. And I, called when my brothers were home, I asked them, I was like, yo guys, look at this. This is, I don't remember doing this whatsoever. This is super trippy. And everything seemed normal. It was perfectly normal. And then a couple years down the road, I specifically remember Nelson Mandela passing away in prison, like hearing about it in school. And it just really struck me as odd hearing that he was, he was in South Africa doing a speech, and it blew my mind. I was like, whoa, this is really weird. And this also goes into the like Berenstain Bears and all that, where it doesn't make sense. I remember it being spelt a specific way. I remember seeing VHSs where it was Berenstain, not Berenstain. So I'm thinking, whatever happened, I somehow crossed over or came back or something of the matter. And all of a sudden I'm remembering something totally different. And this game Mario Kart is, people could say, whatever about it, but it blew my mind back then. And I had no idea about, the alternate realities or, alternate dimensions. It's just something that, really, really caught my attention. And I remember it to this day very specifically, that I played the level a certain way. I remember beating the entire roster of players because it was just a computer. But then I come back to this exact same replay, and as the character is going, all of a sudden he does like a complete 180 and just starts pounding into the wall. How the old Mario Kart games used to go, where it was just hit it and just keeps bouncing back and forth. But to this day, I have no idea what was going on with that, and it really caught my attention and really, really tripped me out. So that's that story.
Yeah, so speaking of the game Mario Kart, I remember that game, and when I was a kid growing up, I actually had it on Nintendo 64, and so it was a very interesting game. I enjoyed it a lot, but what you're talking about kind of reminds me of the game Polybius that is rumored to be something that was out of Portland, Oregon. Do you ever recall hearing about that game, Polybius?
Polybius? It sounds familiar, but I can't ever recall playing it or even seeing it on a shelf. Really.
Yeah, so Polybius was an arcade game that was supposedly, now there's a lot of debate about it, and a lot of people say that it didn't even exist. It never existed, which is, convenient to say. But Polybius was an arcade game back, and I think it was like the early 80s, like I want to say 1982 or 81, was supposedly put in certain arcades in the Portland area, and it had some kind of psychoactive effect on the players, and supposedly every once in a while these men in suits, aka the black men in black, would come in and retrieve the data off these machines, and the machines had a very paranormal type effect on these kids that were playing it. And there are some people that say to this day that they remember playing this game Polybius, even though the world is saying never existed, that they remember playing the game. And there's actually a guy in Portland, I think he has an arcade in Portland right now, who says that he remembers working in the arcade and there being a game called Polybius, and every once in a while people would come in, retrieve data off of it and leave. And it was like, a very mysterious thing. And what you just described just kind of reminded me of Polybius.
Oh, really? Yeah. I can't say that I, really remember anything like that, but that's really interesting. Have you ever watched the show Sliders? It was around in like mid 90s or so. I think it had like the guy from Lord of the Rings. He played like Gimli or something. It's really interesting. It was like an interdimensional remote that they pressed and it like create a wormhole where they could go through different realities. That's a side point, but it's almost where the veil's just a little too thin, and weird stuff just pours out, or weird thoughts pour out. That's gonna come into play a little later in my story here. But I definitely think that the universe is just too big, too massive for our reality to be the only one. If that makes sense.
No, it does make sense, and I think I guess in the mid 90s when that show's out, it's science fiction. It's considered science fiction. But now today, science is showing that there are alternate dimensions and that they are peering through them through quantum physics. And science is on the cusp of proving and showing how quantum physics can prove that there are alternate dimensions, and maybe through the alternate dimensions there are alternate realities, and there's different everything that you do in life. Where I have the water bottle sitting in front of me, so I'm gonna pick up this water bottle, and me picking up this water bottle, there's an alternate dimension where I didn't pick up that water bottle, and also somewhere in the universe being so vast and so huge that there are theories that somewhere out in the universe, there is an identical me doing the exact same thing of talking to you, an identical you, like everything is exactly the same. And so it's very interesting, it's very trippy, and it's way over my head. I'm just a toothless truck driver turning a wheel and pushing pedals with a podcast, you know. So there's a lot of things that I find fascinating that just really go over my head. And if I ever have time one day, I plan on, researching a lot more and really understanding some of these topics I don't quite understand, but I get the premise of, which is just very fascinating to me. But I do think that science is starting to come around to proving some things that were considered science fiction, and in doing that is going to lead to a lot of credibility of people's claims that they say they experienced, such as time slips and things like that. And I mean, you've experienced such things as like time slips. You mentioned about the inconsistencies in a timeline. Are you talking about the Mario Kart, or was there another situation where you had
there's actually something different from that happened maybe a month ago or so. Me and the wife had a friend over, and we're just chatting about his time down in Southern Ontario, and he had gone to a doctor down there, and it's a little bit different where they'll have they'll have all their records in like a giant database, right? So he goes there for like a checkup or something, and the nurse is like, you're returning. I see that you were here many years before, around the time he was a toddler. Well, he's like, whoa, I've never been, this is my first time being in this in this doctor's office. So he calls his parents, and they're like, no, you've never you've never had to go down to the doctors there. And to this day he doesn't have an explanation for it. And at the time we were getting into a real deep conversation. I was like, there's something wrong here. You're not our DJ. He's not our DJ. So it's almost to the point where I don't think reality is a flat plane, but it's more a piece of paper crumpled up, and each one of those lines or each one of those sections of paper are a different reality that we're all floating around, almost like I guess Stephen Hawking, string theory and whatnot. I'm probably wrong, but it's something like that, where the universe isn't as we know it, but it's all around us at the same time. Yeah.
Everything's happening. All these parallel universes are happening at the same time around us and stuff, but we are in this particular one. And naturally, we don't have the ability to peer through into other dimensions now. But like I said and stuff, and a lot of people claim that CERN is doing just this. They're opening up portals into other dimensions, and things are coming through. And that is, a whole other topic of conversation. But the concerning thing is, if we do gain the ability to peer into other dimensions and universes, what happens? Like, are we messing up our timeline and their timeline? And is it possible then to bring in something from an alternate universe? The God particle, things like that is mind blowing. But if you can peer into other alternate universes, then it would lead you to believe that other universes, people, things can peer back and come through. And that is something that is trippy to think about, but also very scary.
Oh, absolutely. It's something that I fear with the way that we're the scientific world is trying to, like you said, peer into other realities where, what if something follows, or something attaches itself to you, and then now what? You know what I mean? It turns into World War Z. No, thank you. That's one of my least favorite realities, bar none. But if it's okay with you, I'd like to get into just kind of from the beginning, from all I've heard from my parents and everything that I've experienced. So back in 1986, I was maybe 6 months old at the time, and my mother always told me about this experience. We had just been home for a couple months now, and she always had us babies in a bassinet next to their bed. Well, one night she's laying there just looking at me. My dad's next to her sleeping, and all of a sudden she can't move. She's wide awake. She can't move. And she sees, clear as day, a black shape hover over my bassinet, getting closer. She can't move. Her heart is pounding. She's wide awake, she tells me. And she is just terrified. She's, she prays Jesus Christ, to lift this oppression off of her. And as she does that, she's able to move. She shoots up. That thing disappears. She wakes my dad up and instantly picks me up. And it's something that's it's really tripped me out, and really kind of opened my eyes later on in life, where there's something more to this world than what you can see, touch, and feel. Keeping that in mind, moving forward in life, I was maybe 5 or 6. Oh, by the way, I come from a pretty large family myself. I have 5 brothers and a sister. I'm the 3rd youngest, but anyway, I'm about 7 or so. I'm riding around on my trike in the front yard, in the driveway. We have like one of those old camper vans. It's almost like it has the one side door and the 2 doors at the back that open up. It's a pretty large vehicle. And as I'm playing around in the trike, I start to notice that the van starts to roll backwards down this hill. I'm like, oh my God, I see my little brother at the very end of the driveway playing with cars. I jump off the trike, run around to the front of the vehicle, grab onto the bumper, and it's like one of those thin bumpers. It's like a thin steel, and I'm grabbing that, and I'm holding that thing back. Mind you, I'm like 6, 7 years old, and this is like a 2,000-pound vehicle, and I'm yelling, "Mom, Dad, help! The car's moving! The car's moving!" And my dad hops out of the front window, runs around to to put the vehicle in park, and I'm just all panicked, like, oh my God, it almost smushed my brother. This is crazy. And it just goes to show that, if there's something that you believe in, if there's something that you're passionate about, you can do anything that you want to, right? My brothers were always important in my life, and just the thought of, seeing one of them hurt, gave me that superhuman strength to stop that vehicle from rolling back. It's, one of my one of my clearest memories from when I was younger. But yeah, moving forward, fast forward a couple more years to 96, 97, the Mario Kart happens. And shortly thereafter, in 2001, my father passed away. I was in grade 8. and I was just kept feeling really depressed. It was near the end of the school year, so I was going into high school without my dad's guidance. So it was pretty upsetting for me, you know, as everybody was really depressed. And one day after school, I was walking back, and I kind of had my head down. I was slouched, you know, I was feeling depressed. And this woman in her garden, I've never met her, never talked to her before in my life. She looks at me and says, "Hey, don't slouch, keep your back straight." And that, like, it just clicked in my mind. That's something my father always used to tell me. And ever since then, I've always, you know, always stood up, always, you know, held myself proper, and, you know, tried to be the, you know, the best human being that I could possibly be. Moving forward from there, this is maybe 2006, 2007. I was just out of high school. I had to work at, or a job at, our local paper, just in the mailroom, you know, manual labor. And the weirdest thing happened one night. I was woken up at about 3 or 4 a.m. No reason why. I woke up and I felt really weird. Like, you know, there was something off. And I, you know, went and grabbed a drink of water and, you know, went back to bed. Well, the next morning, I get up to go to work, and there's cop cars, like 3 or 4 cop cars down the road. What had happened is tragically, a woman and her daughter, I believe, or no, sorry, her son, were tragically murdered by her ex-boyfriend. And that's, you know, that's another thing where it's like, what's going on? Why am I, you know, getting these weird feelings right before tragedy strikes, or, you know, something that's so unexplainable that I'm like, whoa, you know, what kind of, you know, different force is talking to me, telling me something's off in my proximity. It's something that just really, really stuck with me. You know, just like the Mario Kart incident. And it propelled me further into learning about the paranormal and the, you know, the extra real, you could call it. After that, you know, nothing really interesting happened. Until about 2013 or 14. I'm laying in bed, and it's about, I don't know, maybe I looked at my clock and it was maybe 12:30, 1 a.m. And I specifically remember hearing a knock on my window. I was like, what the heck? That's super weird. What's going on? And so I get up and I open the curtain, and I remember it clear as day, an arm grabbing me. So I like pull back and I open my eyes. I'm wide awake. I'm like, whoa, what was that? It was really weird. So I blink, and right in front of me, there's this, it's almost like a clear image of like a gaunt, eyeless, featureless face looking right at me. And I'm laying there wide-eyed, like, what is this? This is insane. And I blink again, and it like opened its mouth like super wide and lunges for me. I kick like I'm trying to ward off a bear, And that finally snaps me out. I open my eyes again. It's not there. And I lay there for a good 45 seconds not blinking because I was terrified of blinking again and seeing this, this figure. That's one thing that, I never want to experience again. And something that, really, really bothers me, to be perfectly honest with you. I believe that I saw that. Each and every Christmas, that's the time of year when, the spirit of the season's in me. And that's the time when I pray to myself. And no word of a lie, I'll be sitting on my deck and I'll talk to my, my late mother and late father, and I'll just ask, tell me that you're here, show me that you're here, that that we were with me. And more often than not, sure enough, I'll see a shooting star. That's, it really made me believe that there's something else beyond this life. Another thing that happened, I was out in the back of our apartment building, and this is, it's like December of last year, so about 6 or 7 months ago. And I'm standing there with my dog, just letting her do her business. And right next to our back door, there's like a laundry exhaust where it shoots out steam. And I just closed my eyes and I was like, if there's something out there, if there's something more than this world, show me a sign. Show me a sign. And that steam, it all of a sudden shot out super fast, went about 3 or 4 feet high, and then dissipated. I was like, whoa, that's definitely a sign. There's something way more to do with life than the physical world. And then just really, I'm pretty sure that, we have not a ghost. Well, yeah, I guess you could call it a ghost, where we've heard things, me and my wife, and it's terrified us, where we're like, well, what is going on? We lived for, 12 years together, and all of a sudden this is happening, where I'll be laying in bed and it sounds like there's a child laughing in our hallway. We don't have children. All we have is a puppy. And that's where it stops and gives us pause, like, whoa, what's going on? My wife's seen shadows. She was in the kitchen one day, and the way our apartment is laid out, our kitchen has a window into our dining area. While she was at the stove, she turns around, sees a shape, does a double take, and it's gone. She can't explain it. Another time she was just in our bedroom, and I think she was playing like one of those idle games, and she again sees out of the corner of her eye a dark shape. It almost at the height of a child, where it like peered around and disappeared. And after that happened, she's like, yeah, no, I'm just going to keep playing my video game here and just leave that alone until I get home. But back to my reference where it said, have you seen the show Slider? or I'm sorry, sliders. It's almost like the world is part of a multiverse, or the universe is part of the multiverse. And when it comes to, ghosts or cryptid sightings, it's very possible that we're seeing, shadows of those creatures in our own reality. And that's something that I truly believe is going on in the world. It's a little unsettling, especially when you consider that, scientists are trying to figure out if there's multiple universes around us. It's just definitely something that gives me pause and makes you wonder, what are we doing with our reality?
With these experiences that you've had in your life and stuff, do you think that they tie back to when you're a child? Because, not everybody has these kind of experiences. For instance, I haven't had a ton of experiences in my life that I could say are paranormal, but there are some people that seem to have these kind of experiences a lot. And do you think that you were, marked paranormal wise when you were a kid in the bassinet next to your mom's bed?
You know what? It's possible. All the way, growing up through life, I, never really thought about it like that. Like things, just weird things happen. All like the Mario Kart incident, like that happened, and it just, it didn't really strike me as odd. But a couple years down the road, now it's like, whoa, I remember this. Something's not right here. This isn't how, this isn't how I remember playing that game. I don't think that I'm haunted like that, but it's interesting to know that many people around the world, experience odd things almost on a daily or weekly basis. I just think that my experiences, although few and far between, it tells me that the universe or or God or whatever's out there is it's showing that the world isn't 100% as it seems. And I really hope there's not dark forces at work, but at the same time, there's too much evil in the world to really discount that. There's stupid people all the way, who take their rage out on the public, and people who take their rage out on, or their sickness out on children. And it's like, who would do that with being in the a modern world? It boggles my mind.
Yeah, the world is definitely stranger than one would like to believe, and there are a lot of things that are going on that if you were to be shown it and said this is for real, I think that you'd have a lot of people going nuts, because it's just so far off the path of fathomability. And so, I think that there's going to come a time where many people are going to be exposed to the truth of the situation at hand. And I'm talking on many, 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 many different levels and topics. And when that happens, I hope that most people are able to handle it, but I don't think that everybody is going to be able to handle it properly. So, who knows? But why don't you talk to us a little bit about your theory on the deep state of misinformation revolving around certain current events?
Okay, so this actually happened perfectly. This morning at about 9 or so, I got a Google notification. Jeffrey Epstein, today, August 10th, committed suicide in his cell. And literally an hour ago, I checked Yahoo News, and it's like, he, committed suicide in his cell, and how many billionaires have, just let out a huge sigh of relief. Like, how is this even possible? This is something from this is almost something from a movie, really. I don't want to, think that the vast majority of the world is controlled by a handful of people, but unfortunately, that's the reality. I think that he was doing something super dark and super sick, and he was doing it with a lot of powerful people. And instead of, letting this happen, everybody's like, look, you have to off yourself, or we're going to do it for you. And that's just something that I believe is the truth. He was sick, and he was doing it with a lot of very wealthy, equally sick, billionaires. And that's just the state of it. This whole, another thing, this whole storm Area 51, I believe we had the originator on a couple weeks ago or so.
Yep.
I believe he started it, like he said, where it was just a joke, but the world's looking at this, or, maybe even the government's looking at this like, oh, this is perfect. We can use this. We can manipulate the people with this and create this huge, this huge media storm about it. And who knows, maybe they're even like, oh, this ain't good. We need to do something about it. We need to flood the news with something else. So shootings happen, and they're tragic. And I'm from Canada, so we don't have the same, freedom for buying firearms. I don't think it'll ever change with the way that, the U.S. was founded. It's something of it's a point of pride, and it's a point of, self-defense. But really, when someone who's, has those radical ideologies, he'll, just take out his frustration and try and, unfortunately leave a mark on society that just keeps going and keeps going. That's something that could very well be tied into the disclosure movement. And if you heard of Tom DeLonge, I believe, I think it's like To the Stars Academy. Well, that's probably not, but that's something that could also be tied into it, where they're trying to minimize the effect of these other things that are happening. Minimizing the storm Area 51, or minimizing shootings that happen almost on a monthly basis. It's, who knows, right? They could even be hiding the fact that the Earth is flat. I don't believe it, but it's possible. It's definitely possible with how not constant reality feels sometimes. where it's like the Earth is on it's on a, it is a globe, but I could see how people would think that and, create this thread on the internet, and all of a sudden, millions of people believe it. The world is a weird place, and human beings are they're the weirdest among us, right?
Yeah.
Definitely weird.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a flat earther, and my problem
neither am I.
My problem with these flat earthers is that they're so radical about their thoughts on it. They believe it's fact, and they speak on it as it's factual. And when asked about it, questioned, they get all up in arms and frustrated about it. And it's like, you're making radical claims. You have to expect to be questioned on it. And don't just be like, well, do the research and you'll find the truth. No. Why don't you present the research that you supposedly did and show me, convince me why the Earth is flat? I've talked to pilots who will tell me that they do have to adjust for the curvature of the Earth. I've talked to people who are in the Navy who say that the exact opposite of what flat earthers say. But yeah, so you covered a lot of stuff there, and I would just say that the Jeffrey Epstein thing, did you not expect this to happen? I mean,
I was waiting for it.
Yeah, we knew this was going to happen. And here's the thing that I would say is either Epstein was killed, or Epstein might be alive still. And I do think that could be a possibility. I'm not the guy that says Tupac's still alive and Elvis is still breathing and Hitler's still alive in the hollow or somewhere. I'm not that guy. But I would say that in a very real situation like this, you have somebody who was doing horrific things, more than likely doing it with a lot of elite people in this world who have a lot of power. And more than likely, there definitely could have been a situation where Epstein was contacted, talked to, and basically was told either we kill you or we pretend to kill you and we send you off to your little island and you live happily ever after there, or somewhere. But you speaking cannot happen. And so their options were limited. I don't think Epstein was suicidal. And here's my thing for that. Epstein's been through this process before. Epstein was called on the carpet for these things before, and he escaped it because of the powerful people that he's associated with. He was able to get out, basically, I wouldn't say clean on it, but he managed through it. He didn't kill himself when it first happened. And so if something like this is happening in your life and you're going to have the highest risk of suicide, it would be the very first time you're going through it and you have no idea what's going to happen and you're scared to death and you're going to kill yourself before, anything happens further. He didn't kill himself the first time around. He survived. He went through the process and survived it. So the second time around, I don't think he was suicidal. He's been through the process before. And I think that he was talked to, and either he was killed or he is still breathing. And I'm not saying that he is or isn't. I'm just saying I do think out of all these ideas of people saying, oh, so-and-so is still alive, I do think that this is something that is very possible in this situation, because it wasn't like he was just nobody that was caught doing something, or it wasn't like he was a musician that, was very popular celebrity, but didn't have a ton of people in high places that to help him. He was somebody who was very wealthy, had unlimited access to wealthy, very powerful people who can make things happen. And so I think it is possible that he could be still breathing somewhere on this earth, but nevertheless, he was a scumbag, and the people who were doing the things with him were scumbags. And that's that. Talk to me a little bit here about Hollow Earth and Hollow Moon. It's not something new to me. Heard of both. What's your take on it?
Okay. So I'd just like to go through a time machine here, all the way back to 1908. This is what I think. Have you heard of the Tunguska event?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a theory from these two, I believe they're Jackson and Ryan. It's called the Jackson and Ryan hypothesis. I believe they're just researchers, but they say that the Tunguska event could possibly have happened by a macroscopic black hole, where it's billions of tons less massive than the supermassive black holes at the center of galaxies. I don't know if that's for real, but it's possible that thing did enter our planet, and that's responsible for these times or these alternate realities happening. So if that happened, now all of a sudden there are theories of a hollow Earth. Not necessarily that the black hole caused it, but now all of a sudden there are people like the originators of that back in, I believe it's like the 19th century or the 18th century, where they say, oh yeah, we've seen this. Or in World War II, when the
Admiral Byrd?
the U.S. Oh yes, Admiral Byrd. Should have done my research. But yeah, where he has this encounter with this other world past the ice shelf. And it also goes back to like where the flat Earth, where it's flat. But then the hollow Earth has almost the similar properties, where how much of what they tell us is actually true. Like, sure, scientists say that the Earth isn't hollow. There's magma and the crust and a million other things where it's just possible. I have just enough doubt to think that, there's an entire different ecosystem under that, under what we think is just solid mass. And who knows? Maybe it is. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well,
maybe I'm right.
I think that hollow Earth is something that hasn't been proved, and with the different conspiracy theories going on about it and stuff, definitely hasn't been proved. But I think it is something to think about, and it wouldn't shock me if it was something that was real. We haven't drilled very far into the Earth's crust. I think the furthest we've gotten, I think it was Russia that got 8 miles into the Earth's crust. The Earth, I can't remember the actual dimensions of its diameter, but the circumference of the Earth, I think, is like 43,000 miles, the circumference. And so, I mean, I'm not the greatest at math, but if you were to do the math, the diameter of the Earth, it's much, much, much more than 8 miles. And so to say that we know what's going on inside the Earth is there's scientific reasoning behind it, but until we actually get there and we are able to get further into the Earth, we really don't know exactly what's going on there. And it breathes life into these ideas of the Earth being hollow, subterranean societies, Nephilim hiding in the Earth, extraterrestrials having bases inside the Earth, coming up out through the oceans. It leads to all these people and all these ideas of possibilities. And I'm not here to say that it's not possible, because I don't know, but two, I do lean more towards the Earth being hollow than flat. So that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I'm in the same boat. I think that it's definitely possible the Earth is flat, or hollow. It's definitely possible the moon is hollow. There's really only, a small amount of human beings who, really, put forth the effort to study these things scientifically. And, who knows? Maybe it is hollow. Maybe they're both hollow. Maybe the moon is actually a giant spaceship from the beginning of existence. No one really knows. It's sure it's scientific, but it's also hearsay, for lack of a better term.
Well, I mean, the Earth being hollow would be a very trippy thing in itself, and to think that it was placed there is that's a head scratcher. I've heard that before and stuff, and I'm open to hearing all thoughts and opinions on things. I think that as much as I rattle and the cages of flat earthers, at one time I did look into it seriously just to consider what they were saying. Just like I said, the biggest turnoff for me was the idea of talking to somebody who believes this, and when questioned, the attitude that you get by these people, and I've gotten it over and over again. I have never done a flat Earth show, but I've talked to people, and I've talked to them through email, and it's a common theme. They're very hyper aggressive if you don't believe them, and it's just like that's a big turnoff for me. And so. But anyways, listen, before we get rolling here, I want you to kind of go into this idea of Bigfoot that you mentioned to me, it being an interdimensional race. I want to hear where you go with this before I comment on it.
Oh, yes. Okay. So, have you ever seen the movie Jumper?
I have a little bit, but I don't remember much of it.
Okay. There's that, and then there's this other Netflix show that has a similar properties where it's basically instant transport, right? I'm thinking these Sasquatch, they're dimension jumpers, man. They have that ability to instantly teleport back to their own dimension or to hours, or many different planes of existence, and it's instantaneous. I honestly think that they exist, and that's what they do. That's how they evade discovery. That's why you never see a body. There's this old picture of forget exactly who posted it initially, but it's like in the 1920s or so. It's real old, and it shows a group of hunters with what looks like a Sasquatch or a Yeti killed, obviously on display with them. That looks really real. Like it's got to be real with the the immense size of the universe. There's more planes of existence, more things that we will never know or never understand that are out there, and it's really just honestly a fact of the times that we live.
Yeah. Well, I think that Sasquatch can definitely be something more than just a physical creature. There are videos out there of, and I've seen different videos of people saying that Sasquatch is cloaking right there in front of them, kind of like the Alien versus Predator kind of thing. And the one that really sticks out to me is, I forget the lady's name, but Claudia Ackley was there, and they basically what they saw was this video, or this Sasquatch was in front of them. They got it on film, and when they got back to camp, the film what they filmed wasn't on video, and so what they saw was this black figure, and I think it was only one lady saw it. But what she saw was this black figure, but right where she said this figure was, it was like nothing was there, but you saw something moving, but it was like something was cloaked in the video. And so, I mean, when you see things like that, it's definitely, it makes you question what these things are. But, you know, again, there's a lot of examples of these things, you know, displaying very realistic characteristics of a wild animal in the woods, hunting deer, living in the woods. You know, the idea of a sentinel where they're sleeping, you know, there's a family group sleeping and there's one kind of standing guard, and there's people talking about those things. I mean, that's all stuff that would say that these things live here. They don't travel interdimensionally, and they're very physical, just animals out there in the woods. But then, like I said, there are a lot of things that people claim they have experienced where it doesn't make sense if these are just creatures in the woods, like following the tracks of these things out in the woods, and all of a sudden the tracks just disappear. Like, you know, one of the best examples is there was this set of snow tracks going out into a field, and out in the middle of the field in the snow tracks, these tracks just disappear. So whether it was, you know, a misidentification of it wasn't a Bigfoot track or anything like that is irrelevant, because where did whatever made these tracks go? It just gone. And so, I mean, the only possible explanation I could have with something like that is sometimes people say that a rabbit jumping through snow looks like Bigfoot tracks. And maybe it was a rabbit going through the snow out in the middle of a field and a hawk came down and picked it up. You know what I mean? That's a possibility. But I definitely think it's a possibility that these things could be interdimensional as well.
Oh, absolutely. And it's really a trippy thought if you think about it. You know, like when it comes to that, how much do we really know about nature? You know what I mean? And how many, you know, with the vastness of the universe at large, how much do we really know? We don't. Like, we live on a single planet. Our civilization is still in the infant stage in, you know, the vast timeline of the universe. I think it was Into the Wormhole by, like, I think it was like Neil deGrasse Tyson or something like that, where if you place the history from the beginning of the Earth to now, that the human civilization has only started on, like, the last minute of December 31st. And, you know, for science to say, oh, well, you know, the science is in, this is what's going on, or, you know, this is how the world works. There's a lot of wiggle room, I believe. And there's going to be a lot more that we're going to find out where it's like, oh, what, really? That's real. Okay, well, you know, time to rewrite the history books, or, you know, just a, you know, variety of other things. Obviously, too numerous to mention at this time.
Yeah. Well, Josh, I'll tell you what, man, I appreciate you coming on and sharing some of these stories and different ideas and thoughts that you have on these different topics and stuff. It's always fun to just kind of sit around and talk about these things and just theorize about stuff. And if you can have a good time doing it, it's worth doing. So I appreciate you doing that, man.
Oh, and I appreciate you giving me the time to talk about it. This is a huge pleasure, and I look forward to many more shows by the Confessionals.
Well, that's the show, everybody. I really hope you enjoyed it. And if you did enjoy it, please share the show with your friends. We don't care where you share the show. Just share the show if you enjoyed it, because that's the best thing you can do to help the show grow. And I'm really bad at talking about this, but I was just doing a live video on Facebook and Instagram earlier today. And I just want to let everybody else know out there, we do have a store on the website. Apparently, I don't say it enough, so here I'm saying it now. We have a store on the website, theconfessionalspodcast.com/store. You can purchase t-shirts, hoodies, art pieces, mugs, phone covers, a bunch of cool stuff. I'm not even sure what all we have in there, but hey, we have a store with my face on it. So if you want the logo with a bunch of cool stuff, go to theconfessionalspodcast.com, hit the store, and see what we got there for you. But until next week, friends, stay safe, take care, and remember, the truth will set you free, but first, it will piss you off. Bye. Hey, thanks for watching The Confessionals on YouTube. If you like what you heard, hit the subscribe button, hit the share button, and hit the like button. That would be a great help to me. And if you want more of The Confessionals on a weekly basis, every Thursday I come out with a special show just for members on my website. So if you want to check that out, go to theconfessionalspodcast.com, hit the join button, and become a member today. And every Thursday, you'll get a new show, and you can binge on previous shows, which there's almost 100 of them. So if you love the show, go ahead and check it out. But thank you very much for being here on YouTube and checking out the channel.